Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. It is good to see you all out there on Facebook and YouTube joining us. Welcome to a Parent Roundtable discussion where we're really going to talk about across the past month, CPS parents, caregivers, neighbors, LSC, and you know, our closest allies, right? Those that might not have, you know, students in the school system, but they are alum. So we have a dynamic conversation that's going to happen this evening around what we've talked about in that past month. We've brainstormed. We've talked about what we need in this moment for those of us who plan to keep our children home remote, for those of us who plan to send our children for the in-person hybrid model and options. What we are clear on is that there's so much more to be desired. We know that CPS and the mayor has not yet listened to parents and brought parents in as thought partners in this critical moment amid COVID-19. So we really are coming together to talk about what we need. And you know, once we came through that brainstorming phase and started putting pen to paper, we came down with a list of demands. And quite honestly, they landed around trust, learning, and care. And one of the things that we really wanted to be intentional about is for parents who are not yet in our
in our organizing spaces and in our meetings, we wanted to present, the demands in a clear and concise way. So what we're going to do is today we're going to start with the T and talk about trust. And then on Thursday, we're going to have, another parent roundtable that's going to talk about learning. And then on Friday, we're going to have parents and caregivers and neighbors who are going to talk about care. And so I'll kind of get us started. One of the things, again, thank you all, everyone, for being on with us this evening. There are so many places that you could be. So I'm glad you're here with us. One of the things that we, really talked about around trust is, transparency, and stop cutting corners, and to really make sure that all of the protections, whether our children would be in person, and to make sure that adequate and quality education is what those children who are going to be home on remote will have, right? So I think it's a good point for us to kind of do some basic introductions. My name is Natasha. I am a CPS mom. I'm a CPS K through 12 alum. And I am currently a part-time Raise Your Hand staff, parent organizer. And so I'm excited to be on with parents tonight because this is really, it doesn't feel like work. This is how we're building community. So let's go around and do some quick introductions. Joseph?
Absolutely. Definitely thank you for having me tonight. I really appreciate it for you guys allowing us to have this space for sure. So my name is Joseph Williams, father of 5 children in CPS, King High School alumni, also serve on a local school council at Beasley, and I'm also on the parent advisory council at Beasley and Lindblom. And then on top of that, just have a fathers organization called the Mr. Dad's Fathers Club, which is strictly focused on getting fathers actively involved in their children's lives through mentoring and literacy. So for the most part, that's me. Of course, I cannot leave out the wife. I have an amazing wife with these 5 children who is a strong support to me. And I think that's me for right now. That's a summary of me.
Kristen, the floor is yours.
Thanks so much. My name is Kristen Brody. I am also a CPS graduate and parent of a diverse learner. I am a local school council member. I am part of the PAC as well, the Parent Advisory Council, and am definitely involved with and concerned about how the district is rolling out this reopening plan and what we can do to make sure that it is as safe as possible. There's lots of communication for our families and our students, and that we get what we need here. And I'll pass it on over to Rosemary.
Hello, my name is Rosemary Vega. I am also a CPS alumni. Roberto Clemente was my high school. Lafayette was my elementary. I have 4 children. 2 of them just graduated from CPS, Lincoln Park High School. I have 2 current in CPS. My fight is just beginning and nowhere near the end with CPS. I am a parent organizer. I love organizing citywide. I have lots of good connections with a lot of parents citywide, and I am also an ally of Raise Your Hand, a very strong supporter of Raise Your Hand. And I am here because, someone has to speak up. And I pass it over to, I think is Miss Wright.
Yep, I'll take that. So my name is Tanisha, formerly known as Miss T or T. I am a local school parent rep. I serve on the local school council at Beasley Academic. I have 2 children that are CPS, are in the system. I serve on the PAC as well. I'm the vice president, and I found my space here with Raise Your Hand because I know that what's going on right now is a concern for many people, and I chose to step up and take action. I would like to thank everyone who's in this space. And as we continue to grow, stand up for what you believe in. I pass the mic.
Hi. Hi, everyone. My name is Mary Hughes. I am a mother of 4 CPS students at Southside Occupational, Shy Arts, and Sutherland. I'm on the LSC at Sutherland and Southside Occupational. I'm also the part-time special ed parent liaison with Raise Your Hand. And the issue of trust here is so important. It is something that has been missing since my oldest entered CPS. He's now 20. When it comes to the central office and decisions being made for our kids and about our kids, the fact that we do not have a voice, a meaningful voice in really important decisions that are being made is just criminal. So I think that's all I've got to say right now. I will pass it to Ms. Shelley.
Hi, my name is Shelevante Tucker. People call me Shelly. I am a parent mentor at Parkside Community Academy. I have 3 beautiful children that also attend Parkside Community Academy. I joined Raise Your Hand.
Right. I think we lost Shelley.
Oh, we did. It looks like we'll try to get Shelley back on to do her introduction. But again, for those of you who are just now joining us, my name is Natasha. I'm a CPS parent. One of the things that is really important as we've come together as parents, hundreds of us have met weekly, making dinner, and also strategizing and coming up with demands, right? Talking about what it is that we need. Many of us will keep our children at home, and some of us plan to send our children back in school. And that is okay. And so what we wanted to do was to come together and say that no matter what option your child or family, plan to take, that there's so much more to be desired than what we're receiving currently, whether that's at the office of the mayor and or with the CPS leadership. So thank you all for joining us. Again, tonight, what we're focused on is around our trust area, really, which is, goes back decades. Quite honestly, CPS has a legacy of not owning up to its full potential and policy and mission and vision statement. And quite honestly, amid COVID-19, it's been really disheartening to see how the stress on our children, the constant turmoil across the district, inconsistent, unreliable information has really landed us to where we're sick and tired. And we are, no longer going to wait on the tables to be, or invitations to the tables to be extended to us. And so we're coming together to really talk and share our truths. So I am going to, I see Shelley is back on. Shelley, it looks like we lost you right as you were doing your introduction. Would you like to go ahead and introduce? Shelley, were you able to hear me? Can you take yourself off mute and give your brief introduction? Let's see. Here you go. every time we get to Shelly, that we are not going to be distracted and discouraged. I'm sure it's the weather, right now. So we'll try to get Shelly back on. So parents, this is really an opportunity for you all to take the mic, talk about, trust, and really go in around the demands and share some of your personal stories. So the floor is yours, Joseph.
All right. Thanks again, T, man. I think you got it right on point. Sick and tired of being sick and tired. Oh man. So, when I think about trust, and I'm so glad to have been able to be a part of this collaborative effort of working with so many amazing parents on creating these demands. But when I think of trust, the first thing I think about is transparency. I think about everybody being like kind of on a balanced level and families knowing what's happening, not left in the dark. Everybody, schools know what's happening. I think of just transparency across the board, right? So one thing I know that parents all came up with that's part of one of our demands was specifically saying a quality control team, right? And what I mean by the quality control team is that this is a team that you have administrative, educators, parents, and youth, right? So you have all of these pieces coming together, but they're also coming together to help hold some accountability. These teams are part of the planning that takes place to deal with the safety, right? And I think something like that is extremely important when we're talking about our children going back to school. I think just overall to just build some type of accountability there, you want to have our youth and our parents and community, everyone engaged in this process. So it's not just within the in-house thing and decisions are being made and things are changing and happening, but no one is there to hold nobody accountable. No one is there to be a part of the process. So for me, when it comes to CPS, I'm huge when it comes to the transparency piece. They have to be very transparent, even with children who is choosing to be remote learning right now with their families, and not to even go off the subject, but I tell you something that's continued to frustrate me so much as a parent is the simple fact that I had to watch our CEO, Janice Jackson, specifically say they don't plan to put any more investment into remote learning. And for me, that's like heartbroken. Like my heart is broken because of this, because I feel like what happened to the No Child Left Behind? Like I understand that we're pushing to get children inside of schools. I get it, right? But I also think you have to have a balance there. And you have to show equality. You have to show that you're willing to invest within the children that are going back in, but you also have to invest with the children that are choosing to still stay home for whatever the reason may be. For me and my wife, we're choosing to stay home because we want to make sure that it's really safe before we just send our children back to school. But at the end of the day, we want to be effective because we make that decision and we get less resources and attention because now we're choosing to stay online. It's only right to do the right thing and make sure everybody has the same equal type of education. So I'm going to stop with the transparency piece and just talking about this right here that's just been blowing my mind lately. But I'm going to pass it off to Kristen, and maybe Kristen, you can weigh in a little bit about what does no trust look like to you?
Thanks so much, Joseph. Absolutely. I know for me, and I think many of us experience this as a CPS graduate. I have a long history with Chicago Public Schools, and 30 plus years later, I continue to see that there's mixed communication with families and students, and there's always this idea that we have a say, but anytime we say anything, it's immediately shut down. And I think last week was a clear case where we came out and said, we have needs, we have demands, and the first response of CEO Janice Jackson was, we're not making any changes. Well, then how do we have a seat at the table? We're hundreds of parents, if not thousands, asking for really common sense trust for our children. When you talk about having a quality control team, like Joseph was saying, that makes sense. These things make sense. And so one of our other demands around transparency is a public COVID complaint tracker. That makes sense. If I walk into my school and I see something that is not being followed, where do I go with that information to make sure that there's some level of accountability? um, there needs to be some widespread, citywide, district-wide efforts to make sure that we can be keeping track, we can know what's going on, both on the school level and on the district level. And honestly, until CTU started doing a public COVID tracker, the district wasn't even giving that information out clearly to parents. And so we had a COVID case at our school before students even came back in the building. And our principal, our administrator did the right thing, shared that information with us. But I didn't get any information from the district. And even down the street, both schools down the street from us, I've said this before, one had an outbreak that shut down the school as soon as schools were open, and the other already has a couple of cases as recently as a couple of weeks ago. And so how can we really have transparency here? It's critical. It's critical to making sure that we can have a safe reopening. We all want to go back to school. Everyone wants to go back to school. It is insane that parents want to stay at home and continue to be teaching our kids and trying to live our lives. It's impossible. We all want to go back. We want to go back safely, and we want to go back with some level of transparency and accountability so that we know that our children and the educators and administrators are okay. That's important. So I will go ahead with that. and I'll pass it on to Rosemary.
Hello. We're here because obviously we don't trust CPS. We don't trust the mayor. For crying out loud, today is a perfect example, which the mayor's like, open the schools, open the schools. She can't even clean the roads, open the roads for the schools to happen. But, trust is about commitment. Trust is about transparency. Trust is about having a plan that everybody knows, a plan that you're not hiding. And I don't think that Lori Lightfoot has been very solid on that. I don't think she's kept her word. I have trust issues with CPS. I've seen them, I've felt them, I've dealt with them. Again, I want to emphasize that I am a parent who fights for all. Not just my children, not just the neighbors' children, not just the children's in my school. I fight for every child who needs it. I am here to emphasize that our fight is not different from those parents who are going back to school. We all want the same thing, a better education for our children. We have different needs. And we want to be heard on those different needs. And apparently the mayor don't think that our needs are as important as the 20%'s needs or her needs and her power struggle and her ways of showing that she is the mayor of Chicago is not showing us that she's a leader. It's showing us that she's a dictator, showing us that she's a bully. And I just want to say, someone who comes from the hood, someone who comes from Humboldt Park, someone who has seen the schools in the South Side and the schools on the West Side. How can we trust Lori Lightfoot when she prefers to give out $33 million for police in the schools than she does for counselors? How can we trust Lori Lightfoot when she decides to shut parents' voices by saying, we've made a decision. This is what the parents want. I am the parents' voice, according to the New York Times, when she's not. So having to trust someone who allows our children to go through metal detectors instead of going through counselors and nurses, we just can't trust CPS to have the best interest in our children. And we just want to be heard. And since Lori Lightfoot is not allowing us to sit at the table, we're going to bring our own table. We're going to bring our own demands. We want to reach parents that are in need. We want to reach parents that are afraid to speak up. Talk to us, reach out to us, let us know how we can help, let us know how we can bring you into the fight, because this is, again, our fight. This is not just my fight. This is not, Joseph's fight or Mary's fight. This is our fight. We are the voices of CPS. We bring the investment to these buildings. Our children, Lori Lightfoot says this as a business. She's running it as a business. Our children are the investment, and we as parents have to make sure that our children are okay, that they are safe. Like Kristen said, everybody wants I want my kids back out. Look, I want the kids back in school. Who wants their kids at home too? I can't even stand my kids right now, but I love them. I love them and I need to fight for them. And I need to make sure that everyone understands that even though we don't have a perfect relationship, that even though we don't have it figured out, I have their best interests at heart. And I will fight for my children and I will stand for my children and your children and everyone's children. So this is what we want the public to understand, is that our fight is your fight and that we need to make sure that everyone understands what trust is. And right now we are having trust issues with Lori Lightfoot. She's not transparent. She's not solid. She's not trustworthy. She's not truthful. And she's going on national TV news and she's saying how she won the battle against CTU. There is no battle won, because we are not, this is not a war. This is supposed to be for the best interests of our children, and she's making it a fight. She's making it a war. She's making it a hostile environment for everyone. And all we want to do is be heard as parents. And I'll pass it over to Mary Hughes.
Okay. Hi. So when we talk about trust in CPS, I have witnessed so many egregious lapses, attacks on trust. I'm just going to give a little history here about when Janice Jackson was not CEO of CPS, but she was the chief education officer under Forrest Claypool. And she was in charge of the education at the time when he spent $14 million on his crony accounting buddies to carve away at special ed services across the city to balance the budget. And after 2 years of those illegal procedures being in place that he put into place, we finally got the state to come in and say, that was illegal. You shouldn't have done that. And you have to do something to make up for it. It's whoever has been harmed, and we know certain areas where a lot of people were harmed, you're going to automatically get extra services. It is now almost 3 years after that decision was made, and they are finally getting around to making calls, and they have nothing to offer parents except online services right now to make up for years without paraprofessional support, years without having bus service. So maybe if your parent doesn't have transportation, you don't go to school as often. I mean, there are so many egregious things that happened, and they're still not being properly addressed. The lack of integrity, the lack of accountability, the ridiculous talking points and marketing BS that they put out is just so offensive when we parents just want a voice at the table. We don't have an elected representative school board, so everyone down at that board office is a mouthpiece for the mayor, who has gone back on her promises when she was running. So the areas where there is missing trust between parents and CPS central office and the mayor's office are voluminous. It would be funny if it wasn't so infuriating. And sometimes I have to laugh at it just to keep sane. Another thing is so many decisions down there are made in the dark and then presented to us as though it was our idea. And it is just not the case. They are not engaging parents in any meaningful way. The people they say that they want to bring back to school because they are suffering, students with special needs, I am the first to admit that, of course, in-person learning is the absolute best way for students with special needs to be able to learn well. But we are in a pandemic, and we have families who are in danger if one of our kids with special needs gets sick and brings it home. That's a reality in many neighborhoods in the city. And the idea that they cannot make remote learning better in that circumstance is just a complete shirking of responsibility. And it really is, we really have to come together as parents and stand up for ourselves, our families, and make our wants and desires for our children and their education known and push to make it happen. Okay, I'm going to pass this on to, let me get it, Miss Shelley.
Miss Shelley's on the go.
Okay.
So let's
Miss
pass it off to Miss Tanisha
I'll take
Wright.
it. Yeah, I'll take it.
All right.
I'll give Shelly some time to get together because, like I told her earlier, she is just a perfect example of a mother that's just trying to get home from work. And I do understand. So we're here because we have trust issues. And I knew that a long time ago when the council, the local school council was sending resolutions out with the alderman that, hey, we got trust issues. We need to know what's going on. And parents, the ones that serve on the LSC, parents, we just know that right now it's a little uncomfortable for us. So we just want to have a place, a seat, a meal at the table so that our issues can be recognized, because we know for a fact that all of the kids will not have the necessities that they need during these times. And these are remote learning times. I do give kudos to the internet access to making it available to all the students who need internet, since everybody don't have access to internet. But when I realized that, I knew I wasn't going to send my kids to school because I was unsure about COVID. And I knew that it was going to be some students inside the building where I serve on the LAC, where I serve on the PAC. And I wanted to go in to see, hey, what's really going on? Is this true? Is that true? And when the X was at the door that I couldn't get in, I knew that I had deeper trust issues. So that's why I'm here. We're not here because we one-sided. We fight for those who are inside the school. We fight for those who will not go inside the school for their own personal reasons. But one thing we know for sure, that we need to improve these times. And these times we don't have what it is that we need, and that's trust. How can we trust that everything is going to be okay if we haven't even been invited to the table? How can we trust that everything is going to be okay when we speaking loud? We speaking loud and proud, but we still don't have a chance. We just want to have a chance to let the mayor know. We just want to have a chance to let Janice Jackson know that, hey, we are the parents. We've been with these kids for over a year. We are seeing the difficulties. Can you listen to us? Can you at least acknowledge that we are in the crowd? Can we have a say so? Can we have a chance to speak? Can we work with you? Can we work it out? Can we make it better for all students? They're not going to be in school 7 days. They are going to be remote on weather permitted days, like today. The weather was really bad and they were home. And I'm pretty sure that remote learning did not work for everybody. We just want to have a chance to say that we want remote to work for everybody. If the kid is going to be in school, how can we trust that the teacher can give this kid that's inside the school 100% what they need? And also the other kids that's online, what they need. We don't trust that. We want to be able to have trust in the system. Everybody had a chance to give their point of views. Parents, we haven't even had our point of views reconciled with. We are still here. We are gathering. We will not stop gathering. COVID gave us a chance to come as one. We are deep in numbers. We are loud. We don't want to get radical. We just want a chance to have a seat at the table because right now we have trust issues. So, Mayor Lori Lightfoot, if you are willing to work with parents, you should be willing to listen, understand where we're coming from. Don't count our babies as numbers. They are not numbers. They are entrepreneurs, future presidents, future aldermen. They are going to be great. It is our job as parents to make sure that they will be great. We have to stand up for each and every child, whether they're going to be in school, whether they're going to be at home learning. But we're going to stand up and we're going to fight for them. And all we ask is that we have a seat at the table so that we can talk about some things. We want to negotiate. We are not aggressive. We are willing and able to speak with you. We are willing and able to negotiate what happens next. We don't have to wait until the next news air. That's difficult. We have mental issues we're going to deal with. We have so much to deal with. And we just ask, can we have a seat at the table? We're speaking for every parent. We're speaking for the parents with those with special needs. We are definitely speaking for y'all because we know when they get inside that building, who knows, are they going to get what they need? They are not going there because they need a babysitter. They're going there for education. We want them to get the education that they would have gotten if COVID wasn't here. We want to have equality. We want to have equality for each and every student. We want to have equality for each and every parent. We just want this to work. And we have been noticing that it haven't been working. So we come together and we have an agenda. We have an agenda and we will stand strong and we will come together. More and more will gather around and we will politely ask, can we have a seat at the table? If not, we have demands. We will get those demands, and if we won't, we'll move to the next step. I'll pass the mic back to Shelly and she can take over.
So as I was trying to explain earlier, my name is Shelly Shelly. I am a proud parent of 3 beautiful children of Parkside Community STEM School Elementary. I am also a parent mentor. I joined Raise Your Hands through one of my leader of the organization of the parent mentor program I'm in. My issues with trust with CPS and Mayor Lori Lightfoot is all of the cutting corners, no transparency. It's just a molehill that's turning into a mountain at this point. It's one lie after another. There's never concrete evidence. I don't like when someone speaks for me. I was created to think and speak for myself. So I don't need a mayor to speak for me when you don't know me, you've never heard me, and you won't even allow people like me, concerned parents that are invested in their kids' education, to even sit at the same table as you to discuss how we can better CPS as a whole. This is not a I thing, this is a we thing. And so trust is in any relationship. If you don't have trust, we don't have nothing. And Mayor Lori Lightfoot needs to understand that just because you have a relationship with CPS does not mean you have a relationship with the parents and the students of CPS. That makes a major difference. And when you go lying and speaking on the behalf of parents, that creates trust issues. So for me, I believe in my heart, until transparency is put at the forefront of anything that she does or speaks about when it comes down to parents and the well-being of our children, then it's always going to be a trust issue. It's like any relationship. If we don't have trust, we have nothing. And it's always going to be nothing at this point. And so, you know, I've always had trust issues with CPS. Mayor Lori Lightfoot is just really adding to that, and CPS, because when you take parents out the equation, what do you have? You're basically telling us that our kids don't matter, first of all, whether they're in person or whether they're doing remote learning. This isn't just about us not wanting to send our kids to school. This is the whole thing, because even when this pandemic is over with, our kids will return to school at some point. So my thing is, when do the trust start? It might as well start here and start now, because when kids go back to school, if there's no type of form of communication, there still is no trust. And I can't trust someone that constantly get in front of a broadcaster and lie. And I'm going to pass the mic back to
Can I add something to that really quick, Shelly? I'm sorry, you just made a really good point. And I just wanted to add to that we have to keep her language. And Lori Lightfoot just did an interview with New York Times, and she emphasized really loud and really proud how her win against the teachers union was because she has full control of the CPS system. That's a very scary word and a very strong word against parents. That shows you right there. She contradicts herself constantly. She said she wants to build trust, but in the same paragraph, she says this was able to happen, and I want other mayors from other cities to understand that because I have full control over CPS, this was able to happen. So we cannot trust Lori Lightfoot and her words, because she is clearly attacking us as parents. She thinks, she's downing us down, like if we don't know what we need and what we want. Also, she said, oh my God. In the same interview, she said, that remote learning is at its best. So how can we trust someone that is saying she wants to build trust, but is telling us we're gonna get what we're gonna get? These are questions that as parents we need to take in consideration. Her language is speaking loud and clear to us, and the fact that she says she has full control of CPS should scare all of us parents. And this is why we all should stand up and should all come forward and say, no, you're not going to have full control of CPS, and no, you're not going to have full control of my children.
Can I add something to that, Rosemary? And that's very good that you did bring that up, because for some fact is when a person say that they have full control over something, that's not a good spot to be in, which means that us, the parents, have allowed this woman, we voted her in and we can vote her out. See, that's what she does not realize, is that we, the parents, many of us, all of us, voted her in. So therefore, yes, you may think you have control, but once we take that control back, because you only have control because we allowed you to have control. So therefore, this is why she feels like she can do what she does, is because many of us parents have settled for so long that to her is, oh, I'm going to do this little thing right here, and then I'm going to give them something to quench their thirst. But in reality, she's giving us vinegar water, and it's becoming a bitter taste in our mouth. So when somebody keeps on poking and poking and poking at a bear, eventually that bear is going to rise up against you. And this is what she has. She has parents now creating a round table and creating our own voice. And you're either going to hear us voluntarily or you're going to hear us involuntarily. But either way it go, we will not be silenced, and we will not be quiet at this point, because for you to say you have control over us,
I'm sorry, Mayor Lori Lightfoot. CPS may have gave you control, but we, the parents, by the parents, and for the parents, did not give you control. And I'm just going to let that be known because now my blood pressure boiling, okay? I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic now. Ooh,
Thanks, Shelly. That's
I want
right.
to take the mic right now because I want to add something. What comes to my mind is that, can you imagine everybody wants something different? That's hard to do. Just imagine being home and just say, Joe, you got 5 kids and you do an awesome job with those kids. You do a very great job, you and your wife both. Can you imagine each and every one of them wants something different at the moment? That's hectic. But if everybody is saying the same thing, that's much easier. You can meet those demands. And practically we're all saying the same thing. Parents who sent their kids in school for in-person learning, they still want to have an equal opportunity at the educational system. Parents that are at home who opt out from remote learning, from in-person learning, they still want the same thing. She know that we want this. We spoke loud, we've spoke clear. And she said that she would give us the space, the time, and the opportunity, but it have not come yet. And that's why we are here, because we want to let other parents know that you don't have to settle for less, like Shelly said. You don't have to settle down. You don't have to feel like the school is the child care, the daycare. I know everybody is hectic right now with these kids going left and right and running from computer to computer and trying to figure out what website, how to get the homework in. Yeah, these are heavy tasks, but we will stand strong and we will push our demands towards Lori Lightfoot, and we will, capital letters, let her know that we have a voice. You cannot hush us. You cannot close the door behind us, because we will knock the door down. And that's where we are right now. We will knock the door down for our babies. We don't fight for just one child. We don't fight for just one school. We are fighting for all. We're fighting for all parents. We're fighting for all students, elementary, high school, all students that are throughout the district. And we want to make our voices clear. Right now, on this day, we have trust issues. And every one of us have different reasons why we have trust issues. But at the end of the day, we are all speaking the same language. Trust issues, Lori. Trust issues, Janice. We don't want to be closed behind. We don't want to be shut up. We don't want you to put tape over our mouths. We just want an equal opportunity for our students in this educational system. I can pass the mic. I'll pass it to Joseph. Would you like to speak?
I'm gonna pass it right off to Kristen, and go ahead and kick us off.
All right. Well, thank you. And yes to all that has been said. Yes. I think a really important point to make here too about the demands is this idea of stop cutting corners. That affects all of us. That affects in person, it affects hybrid, it affects remote, because the simple truth is there's not enough staff and there's not enough safety. We know that the numbers aren't there. And what we're demanding for the schools to do is to not open if you don't have the numbers. At our schools, it is unclear. It is unclear when some of the accommodations go through whether or not we will be able to meet CDC guidelines. It's simply unclear. And that's not the fault of our hardworking administrators. They're being put in an impossible position, as are our teachers, as are our SICAs and our paraprofessionals. They're all being put in impossible positions. And we are demanding that the district make sure that schools don't open if there's not enough staff. How can we keep children safe and students safe online if we have one teacher teaching 15 kids online, 15 kids in a room, and it's one person? It's impossible. And we know from experience in this past year that things are happening in online classrooms that need to be watched. And our children deserve care and safety. And as has been said, they deserve learning. How can they be taught in these simultaneous environments? And also train the staff. CPS teachers should get extensive training on how to actually do simultaneous learning. And right now it's slim. There is not much there for teachers. And the last training, I was told by one of our teachers, happened in the middle of the day. Really, CPS? Really? So we have needs outside of the classroom and inside of the classroom. And I'll pass it over to Mary.
I just want to second what you brought up, Kristen, that there is not enough staff to keep kids safe. And I mean, I think of one of my kids' schools has almost 600 kids. They gave them 2 additional staff members to work as, kind of classroom aides. You've got kids who are going to be being sent to a nurse's room, the care room. Who is staffing that? Maybe an administrator, maybe a nurse, if you're lucky to have one or 2 days a week. There is not enough staff to make this workable the way it is. And I think I don't want to see kids be put in danger. I would love for it to be safe to go back. And I know that parents are making that choice, and I wish them well. I hope it goes swimmingly. I hope it's a wonderful experience. But from what I've seen as to what CPS says they're going to do versus what they're actually going to do versus what teachers are reporting is happening are 3 different things. And it's just, again, going back to trust. If there isn't a foundation of trust and belief that you as a system, as a school system, have the well-being of our children above all else, above the bottom line, the dollars, the bank account, which I don't believe is the case, then we don't have that trust. And there is no safety without the extra staff. And now I'm going to pass it on to Miss Shelley.
Thank you, Miss Mary. So
Sure.
since we're talking about trust and we're talking about safety, I'm really trying to put this in a very nice way. How can I trust Mary Laura Lightfoot, however you pronounce her name, and CPS to keep my children safe when they can't get the lead out the water? They can't provide heat in the wintertime. They can't provide AC in the summertime. They slap some paint on the wall and then they think we're supposed to go, hooray. I'm just saying, no, that's not going to work. So how can I trust you to do something as simple as what we're demanding when you cannot even guarantee that the schools are going to be safe? You figure schools are safe because you put police in them. This is not the Department of the Corrections. This is a elementary and a high school. If parents would allow to be parents, you wouldn't need CPD officers, armed security guards, unarmed security guards in our schools. If you allow parents to patrol the schools, then we wouldn't have this issue. So when you talk about trust, there's a whole number of things that we can sit up here and we can go for hours. I'm talking about we can go for days just about trust alone. So therefore, how can I trust you to do anything that you said you were going to do during your broadcasting, which I call it telelies, that you were telling? You're not going to do it. It's all up in the wind. It's to basically put teachers against parents and parents against parents. You're trying to divide and conquer. And because you have that, as you say, you have CPS, you got them under your control. That's why you feel like you're dividing us. Your division is working. And in reality, you're not dividing us, because we, the parents, are speaking up and saying, we are not against our teachers. We love our teachers. We want the best for our teachers. We are not against other parents who decide to send their kids to school. But as for me and mine, it does not work for me to send my kids in an environment that I do not feel is conducive to their safety. So therefore, you know, like when we talk about trust, we're not just saying something because we heard it. We're speaking on things that we have seen with our own two eyes. We have witnessed these things. You have not walked a mile in our shoes, and until you do not come for us, because we didn't send for you. And that goes to CPS and Mary Lori Lightfoot. And I just have to be as honest as I can, because I wouldn't feel like I'm doing any justice to anybody else if I sugarcoat it, or if I snowflake it, or if I sit up here and act like that I'm not outraged, that my blood does not boil, because me being passive has not worked before. So now it's time for me to get politically aggressive, to where you have no choice but to hear me and hear all the other parents that are screaming at you, shouting at you. What will it take?
Wow, Shelly. Wow, girl. Bang. But I just want to add to that, you know, we're not just talking to speak. We're actually talking facts. You know, Mayor Lori Lightfoot, I hate saying mayor because, to be honest, she's not my mayor. To me, she's a dictator, a bully, and this bully is about to get knocked out by the parents. And so I just want to say, you know, we're talking facts. She uses the numbers as far as that Black and brown children are not attending schools. Well, what are you doing to help that, other than sending parents threats that you're going to send them to jail and that you're going to take them to court? That's not equality. That's not an opportunity. That's not an offer. That's a threat, telling us, you know, you're not seeing the issues at home. You're not seeing the problems our children face with. And she's talking about these numbers, but we don't talk about the numbers when the kids are in school. They're talking about the children who are facing depression and that are taking their lives. This was happening while the kids were in school. My kids went to Lincoln Park High School. In 1 year, while my daughter was a senior there, we lost 4 children to suicide. 4. No one's talking about that. Lori Lightfoot didn't offer an extension to anyone. Counseling. My daughter came home crying, talking about this. I dealt with it. I hugged my daughter. I told her it was going to be okay. Not the counselors that she didn't have in school, the ones that were like, oh, she'll be in on Wednesday and could only see 10 kids in a day. Not those kind of counselors. And we're not here bashing the counselors. We're here bashing the fact that these counselors are overworked, that they're understaffed. So these are all facts that we're talking about. We're not talking because we want to talk as parents. We're talking because Lori Lightfoot is not leaving us other options, because she is not hearing us. So when we're speaking from facts, from experiences, from our own life, lived experiences, you know. So we want Lori Lightfoot to understand that we're not attacking her. We're speaking truth, and that we're not sitting here trying to divide anybody. We're trying to unite us all, and that we're not here representing one school, that we're actually representing the city of Chicago. And I'm going to leave it at that and pass it to Joseph or Miss Ryer. Kristen, you know, this is the best round table I've been at. I'm like, I'm fire right now. I'm like, can we get another hour?
Hey, I can't follow up behind nothing you guys have said. You guys have spoken nothing but truth and power when it comes to parents. Man, so amazing. I'm so glad I had this opportunity with you. So I'll say this. A few more things, right? Things that we talked about was making sure that all staff is being trained, right? It specifically says staff should indicate they understand their responsibilities, have been trained on safety procedures, open up to the classrooms. Specifically says that we must learn the rules before we teach them. So we have to make sure all staff knows what it looks like as we're opening back up these these schools and these classrooms to our children and making sure that they know just as much how to carry on these safety, right? Then also, and one that I really love was the simple fact that we have a clear staffing shortage, and everyone knows this. You have teachers, like they playing librarians, they playing security guards, they playing every role that they can possibly play, right? So we understand that it's a shortage. So the suggestion there is to hire local parents short term to work in classroom and to fill these staff shortages. So it talks about a lot of things within that, but this is all stuff that we recommend as parents and that we came together to say these are some demands that we would like to see happen as parents. So, I'll say this and I continue to say it, is that we faced a pandemic, as everyone else has echoed this call today. We faced a pandemic way before we actually enter a pandemic. Schools were already facing infrastructure issues, right? We had mice in schools. We had lead in waters where water fountains had to be closed off. We went through all of this stuff way before. Quite honestly, Black and brown communities in particular has been disinvested for far too long. For me, it goes beyond the mayor. Because when I walk outside of my door, I don't have lights in my alley like I grew up north and have lights in the alley. I don't have the same resources. I barely have a grocery store in my community. So when I look at what's in my community and I compare it to other parts of the city, the disinvestment has been there. And what I hear and what I'm saying right along with it is that it's time to invest. It's time to invest into our babies for real. It's time to invest into our communities. It's time for you guys to actually show that you care. No more talking. Put some action behind your talk. And at this point, as parents, we're forming our own table. And at this point, we're saying we welcome you to this table to collaborate with us to see how we can work together to build our children's education and success for the future. But at the end of the day, it doesn't stop here. We won't stop here. And I love the fact that I heard so much about it doesn't matter if you're sending your children back to school or if your children are going to be online. At the end of the day, we're here for a greater purpose. The greater purpose is to make sure parents' voices are being heard. Parents' voices are being heard. Our babies matter. Again, they're not just a number. So it don't matter what line of the fence you want to be on. I think we all can come to a mutual agreement to understand that we all represent our babies and what's best for our babies. We here to make sure parents' voices are simply being heard. So I'm going to stop there for myself. But I wrote a few things down in my notes, but for the most part, I'm cutting off there because I think you guys had it all. And anybody feel free to just jump in. But again, parents' voices matter, and we got to make sure that we continue to stand by that. Do not settle for the crumbs. Miss Shelley said it right on point. We can't continue to take the crumbs and settle for the crumbs. We got to look at the bigger picture and what the goal is and what the vision is for us as we move forward as parents, as the city of Chicago. We're going to be the parents that's going to set that example all throughout the entire United States, and we're going to stand for something. So I'm glad to be a part of this group. I'm glad to exercise my voice to make sure the mayor hears our issues, and I'm glad to be along with so many other amazing parents who are standing for the same thing. And at the end of the day, we shouldn't have to beg you for equality, but at the end of the day, this is what we're here for. We're here to say we deserve it just as much as your baby deserve it. Although she may be in private school, we deserve it just as much. Okay, no matter if you're in public school or private school, we deserve a fair shot. Our babies deserve a fair shot. This is our future. Don't cut our future down because you want to play politics. Don't cut our future down because you want to worry about government funding. It's time to do the right thing. So it's time to do some soul searching. So I'm going to stop right there and I'm going to let someone else go ahead and feel free to chime in.
I want to chime in real quick because I think this is the perfect space right here, right now. I think this is the perfect space because we are speaking up because we don't want to have a lost generation. Can you just imagine dummy down kids? No, we're not going to settle for that. We're going to get our kids what they need so that they can be great. And one of the main issues that I heard 2 or 3 times, don't settle for the crumbs. Listen, it's not crumbs out there. And that is one of the main issues why we're speaking out, because if it's so much money that can be invested in our kids' future, why not allow us, since we've been with these kids for almost a year, why not allow us an opportunity to say, hey, I think this will be helpful in this area. I think they need this in that area. We support our teachers. We support the staff in each and every school. We know that it's a hindrance as far as what's going on. The counselors, is not enough of them, and we really need counselors right now. So when we spoke on the call, we spoke and said, hey, mental health is going to be a great issue. It was an issue before COVID. It's a major issue now. When you think about suicide rates, our kids feeling hopeless. Have they lost their dreams? You got some eighth graders who graduated, now they're in high school, and boom, this is that. We need to have the proper resources in the schools, and the money is there. So we don't want to let them say, well, this is what we're going to do with the money. We're going to do this with the money, and we should do that. No, parents' voice matter. We should have a say so about what's going on. And I don't understand why parents are not getting radical with us, because we are fighting for everyone. If you are at a school and you feel that, hey, we got our resources and we ready to get the ball rolling, we ready to get in that school, put your feet in our shoes, because we don't have what it takes, and we know we don't have what it takes. So we standing up and we speaking loud because we don't have what it takes. So join us, get loud with us, let your voice echo with ours. We need you to understand where we're coming from. We need you to be willing and able to help us get each and every kid. We want to see our kids grow up and be great. We don't want to say, oh, because COVID came through and because of remote learning, we got less. No, we don't have to settle for less. The money is there. The people are there. While they are planning, while we're talking, they are planning. They're planning what they're going to do with the money. They're planning how they're going to disperse it. We want to have our voices heard. We know what it takes. It's some simple things. Maybe we can get some better Chromebooks. Maybe we should have never got those refurbished ones, so we don't have to keep going back to the school every chance you can get to take them up there. It's the small things that count. The money is there, so don't think that money is the issue. Money is not the issue. The issue is that we have not had a chance to speak our truths to these people of power. And we want each and every parent, if you're on a call, if you're on fruitfully listen to this. You know what I'm saying? If you want to pass the word around, Raise Your Hand is a great organization where you can come and you can help, and we can get stronger, and we can become better. We can get what we need. We have our demands. We'll demand them now. We have to demand them loud because we've been polite. We spoke and said, hey, Mary Lori Lightfoot, hey, Janice Jackson, we the parents, we need this. No, we need this. We know what we need. We know what we want, and we want it now. So if you want to join this fight, join the fight with us, because parent voices matter. Parent voices do matter. I'll pass it to Rosemary.
That was real good. I also want to say, we've amplified each other's voice, our messages here at this round table. This is what Lori Lightfoot is afraid of. This is what she's afraid of hearing. She don't want to hear the stories. We're talking about the CPS system who capitalizes on the school to prison pipeline. These are the schools that this is the mayor telling us we need our children back in school. And this is the same system that tells our children in school, pull your pants up or we're sending you home. Put a shirt on or we're sending you home. For any little wrong breath, for any little wrong move, our children are labeled, they're criminalized, and they're kicked out of the school system. So how can you say their education is at your heart and is your priority when you really mean we don't have anyone to send to school? We don't have anyone to capitalize on money. So we have to understand, and I'll say it again, that we are speaking truth and facts on everything that we say here today. Nothing has been out of reach. Nothing is a lie on our part. We have been nothing but transparent on what we want. We have been nothing but loud on the demands that we are asking for, and we have been nothing but fair as parents, asking and fighting for all parents and all children. And I just want to say, no one is wrong here. I am not mad at the parents who want to send their kids back. In fact, I'm ready to fight for your child too. When you come to me and say, hey, this didn't work out, guess what? We're going to, with open arms, we're going to accept you. We're going to fight for you and your child, because we know that CPS is gaslighting parents, because we know that CPS and Lori Lightfoot has been nothing but lies, manipulative, and a bully. And I just want to say that, you know, this group has been great. It gives me real emotional, and it makes me even stronger. It makes me know that I'm not alone. And I want to say to parents out there, you're not alone either. We're here for you. We're ready to take you by the hand and show you our ropes and show you where and how the resources that we're fighting for and need. Education is a right that Lori Lightfoot is denying Black and brown children's of. You know, this is a Black woman who is acting like she doesn't understand Black little girls, brown little girls. She's acting like she doesn't understand our language. And all we want is to be heard, included, and seen by Lori Lightfoot. I'll pass it over to Mary Hughes.
Okay, I don't know how to follow that, Rosemary. I just want to say something that I think is really important moving forward is that CPS have a plan for how they're going to make up for this past year, how they're going to really support families, support kids to get that mental health piece right so that our kids can get back to where they need to be, and take this time to, while we are still remote learning, to really take care of each other and to put things in place where families can feel secure and supported by the system that currently is completely undercuts, like you said, Rosemary, Black and brown communities with the school to prison pipeline. It is just, there's so much that can be done with just a little caring about what people really need. I'm going to move this to Kristen.
Thanks, everyone. And thanks so much for all those watching and for everybody who's a part of this. And thank you to the hundreds of parents that drafted these demands with us. You know, we're a handful of people, but we represent schools across the city and in just about every neighborhood and every kind of school. You know, my child goes to a neighborhood school, but really, even schools in the best of situations do not have what they need to do this well. We are not, our school is probably a little bit better off than most, and we still don't have the staff. We still didn't get an extra janitor for our 600 students. We still don't need to hire additional cadre subs the last LSC meeting I was at. Every school is in need, and the things that we're asking for in these demands for trust, they are for everyone. Whether you're going back to school, whether you're keeping your child at home, whether you've already been at school because your child's a preschooler in a cluster program, all of these things are common sense, regular stuff. We need to know what's going on transparently with COVID. There needs to be enough staff, and they need to be trained. This is basic. This is basic. So I am so grateful. When I heard the press conference and Lori Lightfoot and Janice Jackson saying there's nothing that can or will be done to improve remote learning, knowing that almost all of our students, except for preschool, pre-K students, are in remote learning at least 3 days a week, it's unconscionable. I'm so grateful for other parents to stand with and for these things, because this is about all of us. There are very few children that aren't affected by what we're talking about. I would say there are none, because the preschoolers are in the building too. So we We as parents need to come together and realize there's so much more that unites us than divides us. We all need these things. This is basic stuff. We are taxpayers. We deserve this. Our children deserve this. They always have. And I'm just grateful for the opportunity to continue to push, and we won't stop pushing. We won't. We need this. We cannot continue to go on without our children getting what they need. And I will pass it on to, I believe, Shelly is going to wrap us up.
So parents, I just want to encourage you to join us. That we have a petition going that also has our demands. We all stand in solidarity with each other. Like we said before, whether you are for hybrid, in person, or just remote learning, we are all in this together. And my final thoughts on this is that, Rosemary, you said from elementary to prison pipelines, and that really resonated with me. Only thing I have to say is that it is mighty funny how CPS and the mayor of the city of Chicago, Mayor Lori Lightfoot, they want to include us when they want us to do funding, Taffy Apple funding, all the funding and stuff that the school has to offer, and us parents are bringing money into the schools, but they don't want to include us to hear our voices and how to better educate our children. Who know our children better than the parent? And the teacher, the parent is the first line of defense. The teacher becomes the second line of defense. So if you're not protecting the parents, then you're not protecting the teachers. And if you're not protecting the teachers, you are not protecting the students, which means that no one in this is protected and someone is going to get hurt. And guess what? It's not going to be CPS. It's not going to be Mary Lori Lightfoot. It's either going to be one of our teachers that our kids love and cherish, or it's going to be one of our kids. And who then? Why does it have to take for us to get to that point for us to raise our hands, raise our voices? Like I said, we have demands, and you can get the demands at bit.ly/TLC makes sense. And we also have the petition going. Parents, please join us. This is not just a 6 people fight. This is a united fight. Just like you fight for anything else you believe in. If you are a CPS parent, believe in this cause. It does not matter if you're white, black, brown, purple, yellow, blue. It does not matter. We are all in this together. Teacher, parent, and student. We are one.
I think that sums us up, y'all. Well, everyone enjoy, have a great night, and thank you guys so much for tuning in and checking us out, and just really being able to hear the parents and hear directly from the parents, but to be able to see parents aren't just screaming. We have a list of demands as well. So I want to just thank everyone for joining in tonight and watching, and hope to talk to you guys soon. So have a good night.